Down to Earth, brought to you in association with the Musée de l'Homme.
Hello, you're watching Down to Earth with Marina Birch and Mairead Dundas.
In a matter of months, the Zika virus has gone from a relatively unknown ailment to what is now being called a global emergency.
The mosquito-borne virus is expected to infect up to 4 million people by the end of the year. But despite the warnings, very little is known about its consequences and how best to stop its spread.
But first up, let's take a look at what we do know about the virus. A race is on around the world to bring the very first Zika vaccine to the market.
French pharmaceutical powerhouse Sanofi Pasteur is among the front-runners, fresh off its success of developing the world's first vaccine against dengue. Mind you, it took 20 years.
We went to meet the team charged with protecting the world from Zika.
It's at these Sanofi headquarters near Lyon that scientists are in pursuit of an immunization against Zika, the very site where experts developed a vaccine for the dengue fever in December. The French drug maker is now using its expertise to tackle the disease linked to multiple birth defects.
To develop a vaccine takes typically 10 years to research, develop and license. We have to move a lot quicker. We need to work together and cut years off this timeline because the epidemic is happening now.
While Zika is closely related to dengue and spread by the same species of mosquito, it is a much bigger undertaking. Knowledge on the virus is limited, as are publications, 250 in comparison to 20,000 for dengue. And for the latter, it's taken some 20 years of research.
We decided in 2009 to invest over 300 million euros to build a plant. That covers the entire period for the construction of the plant, its validation, certification and recognition by health authorities.
Today, 15 laboratories are up against the clock to develop an immunization against Zika. For its part, Sanofi plans to start testing on animals in the spring. One Indian manufacturer has reportedly started the process already, but the vaccines may come too late to help fight the current outbreak.
The most advanced candidates are still a few months away from entering early human clinical trials. It is therefore possible that vaccines may come late for the current Latin American outbreak, but the development of a vaccine remains an imperative.
According to experts, a Zika vaccine is unlikely to become available within the next 3 years.
All this means more immediate solutions are needed. In countries at high risk of Zika, women have been told to avoid falling pregnant in case the baby be born with the birth defect microcephaly.
That's because in many Latin American countries, abortion is illegal in most circumstances, including Brazil, which has seen the highest number of Zika cases.
But one prominent judge has spoken out, saying the law needs to be more flexible in the context of Zika. We asked him in what circumstances.
In Brazil, there is no law that authorizes women to have an abortion in the case of Zika, even if microcephaly is discovered in the fetus. It just doesn't exist. But a while ago, the Federal Supreme Court, that's the highest court, authorized abortion in the case of anencephaly, where the fetus is born without parts of the brain. In the same way, in a comparable situation, I believe, as a judge, that this decision should be broadened to Zika in the case of microcephaly, but only when the baby has no chance of surviving.
But changing any law may be difficult in Brazil's conservative parliament.
The country is also home to the largest Catholic community in the world. We asked what influence this has in the abortion debate.
A religião influencia muito a questão do aborto no Brasil.
Religion has a lot of influence in discussions on abortion in Brazil, whether it's Catholics, evangelists, or those who practice Spiritism. Generally, they think that abortion should not be permitted in any circumstance.
Sob o entendimento desses religiosos,
They say that God gives life, and only God can take it away. It has an influence because Brazil remains a Catholic country.
muito até porque o Brasil é considerado país católico.
The Pope himself has weighed into the debate. While he has ruled out any approval of abortion, he did hint that contraception, typically forbidden, could be the lesser of two evils.
He refers to a previous Pope, Paul VI, who is said to have made an exception for nuns at risk of being raped during a conflict in Congo.
Avoiding a pregnancy is not an absolute evil. In certain cases, as in this one, or in the one I mentioned of Blessed Paul VI, it is clear. Moreover, I would exhort the doctors to do everything possible to find vaccines against this disease.
But now we're heading to El Salvador, home to the strictest abortion laws in Latin America.
Authorities there have advised women not to fall pregnant until 2018. But accessing contraception is not always easy, as our correspondents found out.
Getting hold of contraceptives in the pharmacies of El Salvador is a tricky business, as this attempt proves.
Condones.
No vendemos eso.
No hay nada de condones aquí?
No.
¿En ninguna de las San Nicolás? ¿Pero por qué? O sea, que...
Política de la empresa.
¿Y cómo lo justifica la empresa?
¿Ya le voy a regalar un información?
Sí.
The leaflet's message: protect yourself with the only solution. Be faithful to your family for life. Despite the fears of the effects of Zika on infants, religion rules here. In a country where 60% of pregnancies are unwanted, abortion is illegal and carries a potential prison sentence of up to 12 years. The United Nations has said it wants a temporary change in the rules, but for now, that's a recommendation which has fallen on deaf ears at the Health Ministry.
Bueno, nosotros hemos ahorita respondido como Ministerio de Salud y como Sistema Nacional.
We have answered as the Health Ministry and as the National Health System by equipping and distributing methods of family planning in all the establishments of the system.
Will you authorize abortion temporarily?
That is not a decision that is within my frame of knowledge.
50 kilometers from the capital at this clinic, women can get free contraceptives.
Look, these are the 1-month injections, and these are the pills.
What's lacking here is sex education. Tatiana is 25 years old and expecting her third child.
I got accidentally pregnant. It wasn't planned, but it happened. It's a little taboo here. We don't talk about contraception.
We try to help our patients, but the problem is the program limits us to seeing women who are already pregnant.
Dr. Polanco monitors 6,000 pregnancies a year. Since the beginning of the Zika crisis, he's been limited to helping women identify the disease.
The nurse has explained the warning symptoms: headaches, sight distortion.
No cases of microcephaly have been identified yet, but the doctors here remain alert.
One question we haven't asked so far is why don't we target the Aedes aegypti mosquitoes directly by getting rid of them once and for all?
Well, it's not so simple. The insects are really hard to control. Even a simple toothbrush holder can contain enough water for them to breed. In the past, we've tried to use fogging to control them, but apparently it's not working.
Humans have been using fogs to try and kill us for 50 years, and it does kill other insects. But we're getting used to it now. Besides, humans don't like fogging their own homes, so we're safe in here.
Which is why we need more high-tech solutions. One of the most promising uses genetic modification. It involves creating a mosquito that contains a self-destructive gene, meaning it will eventually die unless it receives antibiotics in a lab. These modified insects are then released into the wild to breed and pass on the killer gene to their offspring.
So you're going to release more mosquitoes to kill us off? Are you mad? That just means more bites, more disease.
Well, not exactly, as only males are released, and it's the females that bite. Tests by British firm Oxitec have seen mosquito numbers drop, but there's no hard evidence that fewer mosquitoes will be enough to contain an outbreak. And of course, there's the high cost associated with manufacturing thousands and thousands of mosquitoes in a lab. Despite all these efforts, the best protection today remains to avoid getting bitten.
That's the end of this show. Thanks, Marine.
Thanks, Marina. Stay connected via Facebook and Twitter, and we'll see you next time.
Au revoir.